Second.
Okay.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our bi-monthly builders call. And by the attendance so far logged on today, it sounds like we have a topic that is of interest to people. So great to see all of your faces. We do this call the first and third Tuesday of every month. Sometimes it's interviews. Actually, the interview that we'll be doing next month will be really fun. It will be with somebody who helped launch and open and was OP of the Keller Williams Market Center in Chico, who's got years of experience. So that will be the call that's happening the first week of June on how she built and grew and some great nuggets from that. So mark that on your calendar. For today, we are going to jump into a conversation around Revenue Share 2.0. And the reason why I created the topic of what are you telling yourself and what are you telling others is because those two narratives will be what you speak into existence. And so if there's anything that is not 100% aligned, or that there's some doubt behind, or that there's some question behind, or that even there's some curiosity behind because there's lack of clarity, that's going to be reflected out into what you create. And so where I want to start the conversation today, we'll get into the nitty gritty of and break down some details so you've got your arms wrapped around what you actually have in your hands and its impact to you and impact to your organization over the coming months and years. But what I'd love to start off with is just to get some quick popcorn shares from those of you that are willing to share on, we had this announcement that came out the beginning of the month, and it's some pretty significant changes. So I'd love to start off with just what have you been telling yourself about that? And this is a no judgment zone, so we don't care if it sounds good, looks good, is pretty, or is like a pile of poop with whipped cream on top, not to be graphic. We want to hear like the actual truth of what it is that you have been telling yourself in the context of this conversation. So when you're ready, just come off mute and we'll take some shares, and I'm going to make some notes. What have you been telling yourself?
Okay, I'll start. One of the things I'm telling myself is that the bonus on the beginning, right? The $4,000 a year per agent. You multiply it times 100, that's $400,000 income. So I'm like super excited about that. And I think it's going to make it a lot easier for individuals also that are out there producing for them to gain revenue share. So I think it's a wonderful initiative because I think once people get a taste of revenue share, then they start paying attention to it. So I think overall it's going to help our company to grow, and it's going to get those people that have not paid attention to it actually pay attention to it, and they'll start to share. So I think it's a great thing. That's
Okay,
so far
cool.
away.
Thank you, Leo. Who else?
I think it's an amazing opportunity for almost everybody in the company that even recruits by accident. And I think it's already created a lot of buzz with the people that haven't unlocked their second or third level, and their stories are coming in. Hey, I got, $300 on this file and 300 on this one. So I think one of my guys has like $700 already coming in that would not have come in, which is awesome. And it relit a spark in him to focus on this as part of his business, which I think is awesome. So I think it was a brilliant move by Glenn to really protect the company, create retention, and create more excitement. And I think, EXP 2.0 is what everybody's calling it, or what they called it, or whatever. I think that's right on, because I think it's a game changer for all of us over the next, 5, 6, 7 years. And this will increase everybody's wealth opportunity.
Thank you for sharing. All right, who else? What I would like to point out at this stage in the conversation is that everyone is thinking something, because we are constantly talking to ourselves and running narratives based on the perspectives that we have. So if you have a perspective that didn't sound as optimistic as the first two, it would be important to still consider sharing, because that perspective trapped in your mind and body is going to create an energy that could possibly hold you back and not serve you moving forward. So we want to hear all perspectives. We're not judging them on if they're ineffective or, effective. We just want to get a point A of where everyone's at. So with that, that is your invitation to wildly jump off mute and engage in the conversation.
Casey, this Belia. So I'll just share a little bit. I mean, I heard about the new updates, which is great, but my perspective is that I need to take the time to dive more into it and understand truly the full benefit of it, so I can share it with other potential agents. I've been so focused on production that I haven't taken the time, I'm being totally honest, to really dive into it and understand how it fully benefits us. So just wanted to share that with you.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. So you're here to get more clarity.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Who else? We'll take two more. Going once. Going twice. Gone. Okay. So here's a teaching moment for everybody. Welcome to your life. And if you don't have the results that you want and you gauge it based on your engagement and participation over the last 7 minutes, there's a great mirror for you to hold up. And you may be thinking tons of things like right now, like, well, I'm driving in the car, or I'm not able to be on video because I didn't get dressed today, or I've got noise happening around me, or all of the things that you could be saying right now. But the truth is, that's all of the chatter that are going to be all of the same exact reasons that you don't have the results that you're currently looking for, if you don't have the results that you're currently looking for, based on how you're showing up, participating, and engaging. And so everything is a teaching moment. That's not to beat anybody up. That's really just a gift, because the greatest gift that you can give someone and that I can give you is the gift of full transparency and truth. And when you are dealing with that and looking at exactly what the reflection is that's coming back, it's then and only then that we're in a position to take 100% responsibility for ourselves, our thoughts, our attitudes, our behaviors. And then and only then is it possible to create any kind of change, growth, or improvement. And so I would invite you from this point forward, now that we've kind of gotten a couple of things out on the table, and are moving into this conversation, that at any moment in time, you can choose to shift how you are going to engage, how you're going to participate, how you're going to show up. And what that will do is immediately create a ripple effect energetically that you'll start seeing in the outward results and what gets manifested and what actually happens as you go out and do it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to break down the assets that have been provided to us in images from corporate, so that you have the opportunity to ask questions on those, have your mind wrapped around, and maybe have clarification on a couple things that you don't know or didn't know up until now, about this. And so the first thing that we're going to start off on, and this is a conversation as to why this part of the conversation is so important, is because, Selena, will you tell me exactly what you're seeing right now?
The pie charts for Revshare 2.0.
How many of them?
2.
So the Revshare 2.0 that's got the BXP, the one that's cut in half on the right, and that's all you're seeing?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So this is a really important principle to understand about revenue share. I heard somebody yesterday on a call still say something about profits. We do not share profits. There is a big difference between sharing profits and between sharing revenue. Profits are what's left over after all of the business expenses happened. And revenue is what comes off the top. So revenue share and profit share are very, very different. And it's important to understand that when we're looking at revenue share 2.0, this has not changed. This is the same, is that no matter what, we have bumpers on the alley, right? In the bowling alley, if you can imagine a bowling alley for a second, and you've got the you've got the gutters on the sides, right? That you don't want the ball going in, and then the bumpers that keep them in. Like, these are the bumpers on the alley for a long-term sustainable business that can grow over time and be financially viable and healthy. Why this is important for you to understand this one chart is that EXP always will keep 50% of the revenue coming into the company to run the company. If you look at other companies that have popped up in this space, and are attempting to create a version of a revenue share company, they are not operating on the same metrics. And that is why in the space of cloud-based brokerages that are publicly traded, EXP is the only one that is profitable. And for those that are not publicly traded, profitable as well. So this is a very important foundation for you to know, like, if you're going to put your time, energy, and effort and your influence into bringing people to this company, is it going to be around, and is it going to be financially solvent and viable over time, right? Not just today. It is easy to start a company with a not viable long-term financial plan as an incentive to get people to join the company. And then when the financial solvency goes down the toilet, changes happen, which will water down or dilute that plan. And that's what you're going to see with companies in the industry that are Me Too companies popping up, attempting to do what EXP's done, but not having the same fabric and knowledge of what it actually takes. So 50% of the revenue that comes into the company is kept by EXP, and the other 50% they pay out in revenue share. So what that specifically looks like is the pie chart that you see on the left, which is that when an agent, regardless if they're on a 4,000, an 8,000, or a $16,000 cap, 4,000 for mega team, 8,000 if they're on a traditional team, or a full $16,000 cap if they're an individual agent with EXP, when they pay their 20% to EXP, for EXP's portion, EXP is taking that 20%. You as the agent are keeping the other 80% of your commission. And with the 20% that EXP is getting as a company, they are taking 50% of that, which is what you see on the pie chart on the right, to run the company. And the other 50% of that is getting paid out in revenue share. So, any questions on that before we move on? Giving a second for shyness. All right, everyone's clear on this concept. So we're going to move on to the next piece. So keep in mind, like, if you have people in your organization that are on half caps because they're on teams, or they're on, you know, quarter caps because they're on mega teams, which meet, you know, certain production requirements, that is going to come very much dilute the amount of revenue share that gets paid out, because revenue share only gets paid on the 20% that gets paid to the company. So if someone caps at 4,000, the amount of revenue share that's getting shared between the 7 tiers is a total of $2,000 between all 7 levels total. So not very much there, versus if it's a $16,000 cap, you've got 8,000 that is getting revenue shared out amongst 7 different levels or generations in the plan. Okay, so the next one that we are going to move to is what the significance is of this next image. And as I bring the next image up, it's going to give you in your mind a picture to be able to come back to and to reference. And so this is the new FLQA. So first level qualified active is what FLQA stands for. And a first level qualified active person is someone that collects at least $5,000 every 6 months in GCI, gross commission income, from EXP. FLQA means how many people you need to have personally sponsored to be able to get paid on your different tiers. So with the new changes, what you'll see is the current FLQA requirements as they were up until May and what they are now. And how to look at this chart is pretty significant. Most people, if they're an influential or credible agent, when they make a move to go anywhere, they're going to have people asking them why. And so that can result, if they're telling people why they're going, where they're moving to, and they're coming to EXP, that can result just in natural influence that opens up conversations that has people join them. And in those instances, you never know who those people are going to be on the other end of that conversation, and they may catch a vision. And while that person that's come to the company only wants to work on growing the real estate sales business and plugging in with the community and collaboration, the person that's asking them why they made that move may want something much more. And so if they have a bigger vision of something they want to create and build, that can be significant. So let's say on your tier one, you had somebody that came that just like, hey, said, why are you moving, Bilia? Why are you going to EXP? And you shared the people that you've met and the experiences that you've had with them and what they've been able to create, and that you want to create your version of that or something to that effect. And they're like, that's interesting. I would like to talk more about that. So let's say that Belia, on your tier one of those people comes into the company on your tier one, which is my tier two. And Belia says, hey, Casey, there's somebody I want you to talk to in this example. And so she puts me on the phone with them, and I talk to them. So they come on her tier one, my tier two, in this example, and they decide they want to come into the company. And they have a team. Let's say they've got a team of 6 or 7 agents. And so when they decide to come to the company, they, on my tier two, will come in on my tier two, and then they bring their 6 or 7 agents, and those agents come in on tier three. Now, what does that mean to me if I'm just focused on my real estate sales business? Well, it means exactly what Brent said earlier in the call today, is that all of a sudden now, because there's 0 FLQA requirements to unlock tiers 1, 2, and 3, that there's revenue share coming in from, 9, 10 agents that wasn't there before. And it came out of one conversation that I had with somebody that Bilia had. And so this is the power. People can stay focused on the real estate sales businesses, and as a result of influence and being willing to open their mouth and share or talk about a great experience they're having, there's nothing like, oh, I'm not getting paid on it because I need to go have 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 or so on, because they're in my first 3 levels and I need to open those up. That is the old conversation under the current or the previous FLQA requirement. The new requirement is for levels 1, 2, and 3. It doesn't matter how many people that have personally come to the company or that you have as FLQAs are going to get paid on any of the agents' production until they cap in those first 3 tiers. And then subsequently, for organizations that will grow and mature because you have people that come into them that want to build, now in order to be able to get paid on tier 4, instead of having to have 15 FLQAs, you only need 5. And on tier 5, instead of having 20, you only need 10. And to open up tier 6, instead of having 25, you need 15. And on tier 7, they left tier 7 at 30 because that is a mature organization, and leaving that at 30 drives the behavior of continuing to grow and bring new people to the company, which is healthy for the ecosystem. So any questions on the new requirements and the impact of the new requirements based on the image that we've just been looking at? Questions, comments, feedback, clarification? You guys are just sponges absorbing everything up. Okay, we're going to keep moving then. So some people will be like, but I don't understand what this means financially. Like, how does it actually work? How does it work financially from a dollars and cents perspective? What are we talking about here? And that becomes the next piece of the conversation. So I'm going to show this to you, not to make you crazy, just to have you understand the concept versus memorize these numbers. Because I think it's important to be able to have a visual on, the initial, what are we talking about? And what does this mean? How do I wrap my head around what revenue share is and how it actually works? All right, Selena, can you confirm that what we're seeing is a pie chart with all the percentages broken down?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's all we're seeing.
That's all we're seeing.
Good, because it's a disaster on my screen behind all of that. Okay, so if this applies to whether it's a $4,000 cap, an $8,000 cap, or a $16,000 cap. When someone does a transaction and they pay their 20% to EXP and keep their 80% up until the time they cap, EXP, as we established, is going to keep 50% of what comes in off of that commission to run the company, and the other 15%, or excuse me, 50% is going to get revenue shared through the 7 tiers. And the total amount, if you were to add up all of these percentages, it's 100%. So if you add up all the percentages between tier 1 and tier 7, that is 100%. It's going to be 100% of 4,000 if that's the cap the agent's on. It's going to be 100% of 8,000 if that's the cap the agent's on, and it's going to be 100% of 16,000 if that is what the agent's on. Now, there's 2 things that are not stated here, but that are very significant when it comes to Revshare 2.0 as to what happens with these numbers. So, number 1 is that there is a bonus structure in place that Leo talked about, that in the first year, brand new agents that you bring over from this point forward, that are capping agents, that do enough business to cap, you can earn up to $4,000 per agent on your first level. So if you just said, hey, I'm going to go, in the next 90 days, I'm going to bring on 5 of those agents, and they're productive capping agents, and they cap, by the end of the year. That means for this year, in that scenario, if you brought on 5 of those agents, that's $20,000 in revenue share to you by the end of the year, provided that they're capping, right? So that is one thing that is new in Revshare 2.0, which is that front end bonus on people that you're personally sponsoring. So think about when you have a financial program in place. Financial programs are designed to incentivize behavior. And so think about, what does it say to you? What is the behavior that EXP is wanting to incentivize by having that upgrade for level 1? This is where we see if you guys are listening.
They want people recruiting to their first line, their first tier.
Yes, Ralph, thank you. Thank you for coming off mute and sharing what everybody was already answering in their minds, I'm sure. So EXP is wanting to drive the behavior. Listen, we're at 90,000 agents, and the goal is to be at 500,000 agents within the next 5 years. So how do you get people opening their mouths to share with others? We know that 90% of the people that are with EXP are never going to do that because they're here for production and growth in their sales business, and 10% are. So 10% of 90,000 is 9,000 people with open mouths. And then maybe that 90% that don't have open mouths are like, wow, it is costing me a lot to keep my mouth shut. It is costing me a lot to keep my mouth shut. And, what if 2 or 3 people I opened up my mouth to, and, they came over to the company? Wow, that's an extra $12,000 for the year. I don't know how many closings that equates to in the market that you're personally selling real estate on in this call. But that's pretty significant. And the significance of that is it's not one-time income, it's leveraged income. So next year, when the cap resets and they're going, the work that you've done this year to use your influence in those conversations, introducing people, continues to reward you on an ongoing basis. And that is the power of leverage. So that is one thing. The second thing that is very important to know about levels 1 through 3 is that there's an additional bonusing system that happens there. Does anybody know what that bonus is, or would like to tell me what that is?
It's up to 4,000, the first level, first agent.
Yep, there's that one. There's also one more. There's a bonus pool.
And that's heavily weighted on the first 3 levels, correct?
Yes. So I want you to think about, I'm going to give you guys an example of our organization. So we're currently right around 4,000 agents Over the course of since we've been with EXP, there's been close to 8,000 agents that have been a part of our organization, which means there's 4,000 agents that are no longer. For whatever reason, they're not selling real estate, they're with another company. Like, these are normal metrics, right, that you see in business. So if you think about those 4,000 agents that left, any of them that left that had revenue share, they left the company, but their position in the company still has revenue share coming into it. And one very distinct difference between EXP and any of the other Me Too companies that are out there is that with Me Too companies, many of the Me Too companies, when someone leaves that is collecting revenue share and they no longer are collecting revenue share, that revenue share goes back to the company in other companies. With EXP, that revenue share from that spot that someone's no longer in goes back into a revenue share bonus pool that every month, all of that money gets pooled together, and then it's bonused on levels 1, levels 2, and levels 3. So I want you to think about the implication of this for a minute, because what that bonus structure means is that you have the agents that you brought to the company that are in your levels 1 through 3 already. But now, because you've done that, you're also positioning yourself to receive bonuses that every month from all of the agents that are no longer with the company collecting revenue share, the revenue share that was going into that position gets spread amongst everyone that's collecting revenue share with the company in levels 1 through 3. So there's a bonus system for you to collect revenue share on work that you've not even done, on agents that were not even in your organization, because the company's pooling all of that and sharing it collectively amongst everyone that is participating in revenue share. I know that's kind of a little bit of a mind bender, so I want to give you a second to digest it and just say, is there any thoughts, comments, questions on that bonus aspect?
I have a quick question, Casey. So if somebody leaves level 1 and they brought in level 2 and 3 for you, I understand the bonus, but does level 2 and 3 get moved up and you continue to get paid on them at the level 2 level? Or I don't know if that makes sense.
They do not. So let's say, Belia, you sponsor Laura, and Laura sponsors Ralph, and Ralph sponsors me. And I'm using those names because you're at the top of my screen on how the tiles look so that I can keep them all straight.
Okay.
So let's say that Laura decides, oh, you know what, I'm getting out of real estate, or I'm leaving EXP and I'm going to, another company, right?
Okay.
So Laura leaves, goes to another company, and that means that Laura's position is collecting revenue share from Ralph's production and from my production. And actually from Selena's production, because Selena would be on Laura's 3rd level in this instance, right?
Mhm.
So when Laura goes away, Belia, that spot is still as if Laura's there. It's just she's not collecting the revenue share any longer because she's left the company. So Ralph is still on your 2nd level. I'm still on your 3rd level, and you will still be collecting the revenue share from the production of Ralph and production of me until we cap. But the revenue share from Laura now is going into a pool that, as with all of the other agents that have left the company and are no longer there, that money gets pooled, and that's what gets paid back in bonuses on levels 1 through 3.
Okay, so then I would be eligible for a bonus.
Yes.
Because I would be okay, got it.
Yep. So where you had no income other than Laura's production, which goes away when she leaves the company, now you still have income based on Laura's revenue share that goes into a pool that gets shared collectively, as it does with any other agents that are no longer with the company that were collecting revenue share.
What determines the amount of that bonus that you receive?
The amount that goes into the pool every month.
Okay, so that's just divvied up kind of evenly? Okay.
Yep,
But it's for the entire company, right?
it is.
Okay, wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it is. It's for the entire company. So if you look at our little micro snapshot of our organization of 4,000 agents that at one time was 8,000 agents. I don't have the numbers of how many of those 4,000 that are no longer with us were collecting revenue share, but there's some significant stuff in there because I mean, last month we had somebody that before the changes came out, they had an organization of 150 agents and they only had 3 FLQAs, which meant they weren't getting paid on levels 2 and 3, and they left. And so there's revenue share from those 150 agents that would now be paid into that position because most of them are in that person's first 3 levels. And that revenue share is now going back into a pool that will be the bonus pool, the company pool on levels 1 through 3. So it can be quite significant when you start to add all of that up. So we're going to look at one last image and then open it up for any further comments and clarifications that give you yet another way to digest this, because I know everybody sees things a little bit differently and visually differently. However, I need to make sure that I'm pulling up the actual image that I want to be pulling up versus the one that I'm seeing at the moment. So give me a second to get to it. Here we go. Okay. All right. So lastly, we're looking at the same information except for all in one visual way to view it. So what you have, and this does give you another layer of information, Belia, on the conversation that we were just having. But if you look at the right-hand side, you're going to see the percentages on each level, whether that person's a 4,000, 6,000, or excuse me, 4,000, 8,000, or $16,000 cap. And then the table working right to left on this image. So that right-hand side is those percentages broken up and what happens when someone closes a transaction and the 50% of the money that goes into revenue share, how it's divided up. Then the middle part is showing you, okay, 0 to 4 in those first 3 along the top would be, I guess I can use my little arrow. I don't know that it's showing up here. So this is showing tiers 1, 2, and 3 that there's 0 requirements for you to have revenue share on those levels. That's what the 0 means. And so you've got those first 3 levels that are open up. And then when you get to tier 4, which is down here, that's where the requirements start to kick in. So between 5 and 9 FLQA agents, make sure that your tier 4 is open. To open up tier 5, you're going to have between 10 and 14 FLQA agents. To open up tier 6, you need the 15 to 29 agents. And then to open up tier 7, you're at 30 FLQAs. So it's another way to look at it. And then the expansion share, the bonus that we were talking about, and how that gets broken out amongst everyone. So that is for the majority of people that have brains like mine, your eyes are glossed over in your head and rolling backwards. For people like Selena, it looks like you just had a piece of dessert. And thus is the difference between how minds work. So those resources all are very easy to find, in addition with some video tutorials that have been sent out, and I will put the I'll put the link in the chat below, and it is the Revshare 2.0. Oops, I don't need to share my screen to do that. I need to go to the chat to do that. And that will give you access to all the images that I just shared with you, as well as some video tutorials with, questions about it if you want to dig in deeper. But I want to go back to just recapping the principles that we talked about. So number 1, the reason why EXP is financially solvent and a long-term sustainable business plan past the 13, 14 years that we've been here is that 50% of all the revenue that comes into the company will be kept by the company to run the company. The other 50% paid out in revenue share. That is a very important distinction. of why we're profitable and why we are the profitable model in cloud-based brokerages because of how we handle that. The second thing is that from a revenue sharing perspective, you want to keep in mind that when people come into the company on mega teams where they've got a 4,000 cap or a traditional team where they're on an $8,000 cap, that immediately is reducing the amount of revenue share by half. And then it ends up being a quarter of what it would be if they're on a $4,000 cap. So if you're looking at an organization that is going to, maximize revenue share, it's going to be made up of individual agents on full caps, or there could be people that are on teams that choose to stay on a full cap because they want to qualify for the Icon Award. So keep that in mind as well. The productivity of an agent is what drives revenue share. And so the third thing is that the incentive that's in place right now for you to use your influence and personally bring people to the company that have not been here is that new agent that comes to the company, and I don't mean new agent in real estate, I mean new agent joining EXP. If they're a productive agent that caps, there's up to $4,000 per agent that you can earn now through Revenue Share 2.0 on that person, that person's production, right? And some people will say, oh, you're going to make money off me if I come to EXP. It's like, well, it's EXP's money. They're giving what you're going to pay EXP, the 20% they're paying in revenue share. You're not paying the revenue share. It's EXP's money, and they're giving that portion of the revenue back to the field to drive growth and to also have a leveraged asset that agents can build to solve the challenge around being on a transaction treadmill until the day that they die, to create some leverage and diversity in how they do their business. So that's important to understand. The next thing is that levels 1 through 3, there's no requirements. So immediate to, effective immediately as of this month, people are receiving revenue share, and on anyone that is producing or closing deals that are in levels or tiers 1, 2, and 3, effective immediately. And that is the way that it will be on an ongoing basis. So what are the conversations that you can be having, like Brent's had clearly with his organization, that there's energy, right? He said the stories coming in. One of his people had $700 so far that he's collected in revenue share that he'd not collected before, simply because of the change of there being no requirements now to open that up on levels 2 and 3. So those are very exciting stories, and yes, definitely increased wealth opportunities. And so the more you have of these so it is active income. It's not. So this is a great question, MC. Tax wise, is it treated as commission income or passive income? It is active income. So it is leveraged income. Meaning that it's not taking your time, energy, and effort to do the deal and receive the income from it. It is being leveraged from whoever the person was that did that transaction. So when we're talking about revenue share, it's not passive income, and it's not it does recur in nature, but it is not the same thing recurring month after month. It's different based on the production. So the term that we use when we talk about revenue share is that it is a leveraged income. So yes, it's taxed as active income. You get a 1099 NEC from the company for that. Great question. And so when you're thinking about like, okay, how do I put all of this, how do I put all of this together? Well, I like to keep things really simple. And in my simple little brain, what my simple little brain says is, who is someone that you're going to be in a conversation with that you want to make a difference in their life and their business, period. I was in a conversation last week with somebody that's been at 100% shop for years. They've been in the business 23 years. And she reached out to me to have a conversation about EXP. And I said, why are we having this conversation after you just told me that for all these years you've been at 100% shop? And as people have been aggressively, in your perspective, aggressively attempting to, recruit in your market, and everyone in your office has made fun of EXP, saying, why would you give any money to the company when you could be at 100% shop? And now here we are in this conversation. This person said, well, first and foremost, like, there's just the people that are here and the opportunity to learn and collaborate and the opportunities that exist. And when you really break down, there was another person I was on a call with that is gonna like start their own thing. It's gonna be 100% shop. When you think about the mindset of I want to keep every single last penny that I can keep versus what's the net thing that I'm going to build, a mindset of scarcity will keep somebody in 100% shop because they're not able to see a vision of what happens when you have different opportunities that can grow way more and net you way more if you have something growing and working and leverage on your behalf. And so a lot of this is education and helping people into different conversations and exploring things that maybe they've never thought of in that way before. And that's where we come into place as being the people that are the bridge between the agent that's not with us and the agent that ends up joining us at EXP because of our ability to have those meaningful conversations and also to be able to connect them to people, like using the third-party validation calls, getting them on the calls with me, have me talk to your people. I love these conversations and exploring where people are at and helping them think differently and seeing possibilities that they're not able to currently see. So that was a lot of information. I know because my throat is now dry, which means I have been talking a lot. So I'm going to pause for a minute and just anyone that wants to come off mute, questions, comments, perspective shifts, feedback, things you're looking to be more clear on or clarifications on, this would be the time for those. And a time for me to have a drink of water. Okay, so here's my question. As a result of what you learned today and what you're digesting today, what will be different for you on the other side of this call based on what you are going to go do? So what's an actionable thing that you're taking away from today's conversation?
So for me, Casey, I really appreciate the first chart where you had where it shows the breakdown for the company, the 50-50. And because I do get that a lot about, oh, well, you just want to get paid on me. And I love the way you put it, that it's not your money, it's the company's money. And we're, receiving that as a revenue share. And so I really love that chart that breaks down the 50-50 and your 80-20. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, if you think about this in other real estate models, right? Like if you look at Keller Williams, they hire a team leader and they pay them to bring people to the company, right? And then that team leader has an invested interest in making sure the company grows because they're getting paid to do that work, right? But that's not coming out of revenue or profits. That is a paid salaried position within the company. Oh my goodness, look at that cutie, Brent. So when you think about EXP, we don't have paid team leaders that are out there hired to bring agents to the company. But what we do have is we have an army of agents that are out there interacting with agents every day, that when they use their influence and that influence brings someone to the company, EXP says, thank you so much for bringing someone to the company. And as a display of our thanks for the rest of forever, when that agent closes a deal, of the 20% that we, the company EXP collects, we're going to take 50% of that income and that revenue, and we are going to share it amongst all of our agent partners, 7 levels, that are out there using their influence, taking their time, caring enough about people to have those meaningful conversations. Oh, by the way, you're still getting your 80% as the agent. And then once you cap, you're now at 100%. So there is no more revenue share once anyone caps. And wow, what a very generous thing for a company to do for its people. If you're talking with most people, that is not an opportunity that exists within their company. So it's again, what is when you come from abundance and you have a mindset of making an impact and creating something that's a game changer and amazing, and you start to really break that down, it's like, wow, what kind of people now are attracted to that, right? And so I love that, Belia, because it is it is helping to educate and re-educate people on what is versus what may be perceived. Okay, fantastic. Who else? What's one thing that you're going to
Yeah.
walk away with today?
Well, I have a question. So when a person leaves the company and they're in your revenue share, what they would receive goes to the bonus, yet you'll still receive your 28 or amount off of them, right? No, are they still stay in your organization and you still receive what you would have got even though that person left, or does all of theirs, uh, whatever it is, go to the bonus?
Great question. So any revenue, so let's say that it's you, Luigi, okay? Let's say that I've sponsored you. Revenue share that I'm going to receive from you is based on your personal sales production when you're selling houses. If you leave the company, there is no sales production. So I'm not receiving any revenue share because you're not producing any revenue for EXP. But if you brought Brent Conley into the company and Brent's still with the company and Brent brought Belia into the company and Belia is still with the company and they're both selling real estate, there is going to be revenue share that gets paid out that, yes, I'll still receive because they're still on my levels 2 and my levels 3. But the revenue share that would be coming into your position, Luigi, from Brent's production and Belia's production, that revenue share now goes back into a pool for the company that is that bonus pool. Thank you for asking a clarifying question. I'm always looking for feedback on how to be more effective in my communication, and I'll keep reiterating until I get it. And communication is the result I get. So that is the good news and the sad news sometimes. Okay, moving on. Not going to go down that rabbit hole. All right. Any other questions, clarification?
So go ahead. I think somebody else was jumping in. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, it's MC. What are we saying to people who really love the office format when we don't have that here locally?
Get one.
Okay.
There's EXP does not keep you from that at all. And so yeah, there's nothing that prevents somebody from having an office. So the you know, if they don't want to use the free office space that we have available to us, and the name of it just went out of my head. Regis, thank you, Brent. That takes a team, right? It takes a team to keep me on track. So if they don't want to use the free Regis office space and have that be a place where they come together as community with other people that they're working together with, it is, you know, office space is not expensive to get. You can get great office space if it's a matter of having like a hub or a space, then you have people that want to come together, be together, and, you know, share space together. Brent, go ahead.
Hey, MC, let me help you with that, is because I have a couple people that wanted office space, and I just did a mastermind meeting at one of the Regis spaces, and they liked it, but they were only there for an hour. I scheduled it for 2 hours and kind of do like our own EXP office meeting, and then they were out. And so that was at a Regis space. So I would suggest doing one there, doing one at a lender's, doing one at a title company or escrow office, and rotate it and do some meetings at different office spaces so they get the feel of it, because that's an objection that comes up all the time, but it's the comfort of them wanting the office space that they don't utilize. Guaranteed. I used to have 18,000 square feet leased and nobody went to the office unless they were like Mike Ferry agent. So very, very few people go to the office, but it's a comfort thing in their mind that you can handle that objection by spending time with them at these different locations that are free, or maybe it's $75 for an hour at Regis, or use the open space and you can do a work study thing there, and the objection will be 95% handled.
Thanks, Brent.
I love that. So, I mean, imagine that. Imagine if you just set up a calendar for the year and you had a bi-monthly time, like we're getting together twice a month. And since it's important to you to have office space and have community, I'm sure you're going to make sure that you show up at those times. And here they are, and here's the locations. And it's fun to be somewhere new. You can support different businesses, local businesses, you know, and getting together, and some of the things that Brent referenced as well, that may be more, you know, business focused kind of areas as well. There's all kinds of creativity and flexibility in it. Great question, MC, and Brent, much better answer than mine.
So just to kind of piggyback on that as well, Brent, we here in the East Bay, we've got quite a few EXP agents. We're running into each other. So we've agreed to meet once a month. In fact, today we'll be meeting after this meeting, and we call it our EXP Mastermind. So we meet downtown in Livermore at Monica's restaurant and have breakfast, and we have to share one idea that we're implementing into our business. So a way to be able to collaborate and be able to share ideas and still connect with other EXP agents. A lot of it is in my group, folks that I have sponsored, but I also like to share with any other local Livermore agents or in the Tri-Valley. So we just started that last month.
I love that.
And then I had a quick question, Casey, going back to the chart, the one with the revenue share 2.0 that shows how many agents you need 0 to 4 shows 17.5% and then so forth. So yes, that one. So top percentage of revenue share pool on transaction in each tier group. So that's just indicating like the 17.5, the 20 point is the percentage that the revenue share is coming more primarily from that line, correct?
So if you took a $16,000 cap
Mm-hmm.
and 16,000 times 17.5% would be the revenue share on level 1. You
Okay.
took the same $16,000 cap and did 20%, that would be on 2, and that is, you know, up to that amount on a fully capped agent before the bonus that's in place for level 1 this year, and so on all the way down. So if you break those down, that would be, if you're looking at somebody that's on a $16,000 cap and how that would be spread through those 7 levels and the amounts and how much revenue share it would be on each level, that's what you're going to see.
Oh, I see that. Okay. That makes
Okay.
sense. But that's on a $16,000 cap.
Yep, that would be on, well, and it's on an $8,000 cap too. The percentages are exactly the same.
They're exactly the same. And then I noticed that it
Yeah.
drops down on tier 4, tier 5. So, okay.
Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, any other questions, comments? No. All right, well, if we have not completely mind scrambled your brain for today and rendered you useless, no, I'm kidding. Hopefully it was clear and helped to clarify and put some things in place. The bottom line is simplification is, the more complex something is, the slower it goes. And so it's, you know, it's very simple right now. Come to EXP, bring people, you're going to get paid, no requirements. And by the time people start popping up on, you know, level 4, we can talk about what it looks like to be intentional about it and meet some requirements if you're more just wanting to focus on your real estate sales business. But it is we have removed a barrier of entry. And I mean, don't underestimate what $400, $700 in a month could mean for a family, you guys. It can mean a lot. It can mean a lot. And so particularly when you get into areas that are not expensive like the Bay Area, that $400 to $700 means a lot more the further east you go into other parts of the market and the country that don't have the crazy pricing that we do here in California. And then of course, then you get messed up again once you get to New York and the East Coast. But if you're in the middle somewhere, I mean, that 400 to 700 can go a long ways, much further than on the far east or far west coasts of the United States. So thank you guys for being here. We'll post this recording in the Empire Builders Pro YouTube channel where we house all of the other recordings from these calls, and then mark your calendars for the first Tuesday of June, which I believe is June 4th. And we'll have Erica on that call. Looking forward to hearing from her very much and seeing you and anyone else that you want to invite to this call back for our next call. Make it a great rest of your day, everyone. Thanks for being here. And thank you all for your participation and contribution.